Hello. You're back. In my apartment again. Um, I really should do something about my locks. But, well, while you're here, why don't you just have a seat? Because your mind is about to be blown. You have the right to remain silent because this story is going to F you up in the best kind of way. Here we go. 'Tis the night before Christmas, and the 405 freeway in Los Angeles is decorated with tinsel on the light poles and the palm trees. The orange grid of LA at night is all aglow, and the deafening noise of a 747 airplane can be heard in the near distance. Inside the 747 is John McClane, mid-30s, good-looking, athletic, and tired from his trip. His relief on landing is subtle, but we notice. Suddenly, he hears,
"You want to know the secret of successful air travel? After you get where you're going, you take off your shoes and socks. Then you walk around the rug barefoot and make fists with your toes."
Fists with your toes.
Better than a cup of coffee and a hot shower for the old jet lag. I know it sounds crazy. Trust me, I've been doing it for 9 years.
McClane reaches to remove his bag from the overhead storage, unintentionally revealing his Beretta pistol to the businessman.
It's okay. I'm a cop. Trust me. Been doing it for 11.
Inside the Nakatomi building, a multinational corporation, a man pops a bottle of Dom Perignon in front of a floor full of his subordinates. That man is Mr. Rivers.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the Senior VP of Sales for Nakatomi, I congratulate each and every one of you for making this one of the greatest days in the history of the Nakatomi Corporation.
Heading towards her office is an attractive businesswoman. She's still at work studying a computer printout. Falling into step with her is smooth-talking Harry Ellis, VP of Sales.
Holly, come on. What about dinner?
Harry, it's Christmas Eve. Families, stockings, chestnuts, Rudolph and Frosty. Those things ring a bell?
I was thinking of more roaring fireplaces, mulled wine, and a nice brie.
Holly ignores the come on and discovers her secretary still hard at work in her office.
Jimmy, it's 6:40. You're making me feel like Ebenezer Scrooge. Go on. Join the party. Have some champagne.
Jenny slowly manipulates herself out of her seat. She's enormously pregnant.
Thanks, Mrs. Gennaro. Do you think the baby can handle a little sip?
Jenny, that baby's ready to tend bar.
How about tomorrow night?
Holly just points to the door as she dials the phone. On the other end of the line, 5-year-old Lucy McClane races to the phone and answers with a sense of importance.
McClane residence, Lucy McClane speaking.
Holly suddenly smiles. It is the first time we've seen her smile, and it speaks volumes about the person hidden underneath the tough business exterior.
Hello, Lucy McClane. This is your mother.
Mommy? When are you coming home?
Soon. You'll be in bed when I get there, though.
Will you come say goodnight?
Don't I always, you goose? Now, put Paulina on the line and no searching the house for presents.
I didn't look in the front closet under the steps. Is Daddy coming home with you?
Well, we'll see what Santa and Mommy can do. Goose, put Paulina on, okay?
McClane enters the terminal carrying the biggest stuffed animal the toy store had in stock. He looks around at family reunions going on all around him, hoping to have one of his own. Instead, he spots a thin, gangly kid, Argyle, in an ill-fitting chauffeur's uniform. As he waits, he beats out a rhythm on Nakatomi Corporation card with J. McClane written on it in magic marker.
I'm John McClane.
Argyle, I'm your limo driver. Hey, nice bag.
Argyle, don't you take this stuff?
Do I? I'm sorry. You're gonna have to help me, man. This is my first time driving a limo.
That's okay. It's my first time riding in one.
In the limo on the highway, both Argyle and McClane are in the front seat. McClane clearly isn't the limo type.
Just kick back and relax, man. You got everything you need. CD, CB, TV, VHS, telephone, full bar.
He looks in the back seat, which is occupied by the stuffed bear.
Your friend is hot to try. I know a couple of mama bears. Or is he married?
Married.
McClane tries to get comfortable, but discovers Taco Bell wrappers all over the front seat.
Hey, I didn't expect you to sit up front. So, your lady live out here?
Past 6 months.
Meanwhile, you still live in New York.
You're nosy. You know that, Argyle?
Hey, I'm sorry. When I was a cab driver, see, people expected a little chit-chat, a little eccentricity and camaraderie. I forgot how stuck up you limo guys were, so excuse me.
It's okay. It's okay.
So you divorced or what?
You had a good job. Turned into a great career.
That meant her moving here.
Closer to Japan. Fast.
So why didn't you come?
Because I'm a New York cop who used to be a New York kid, and I got 6 months backlog of New York scumbags I'm still trying to put behind bars. I don't just get up and move.
You mean you thought she wouldn't make it out here and she'd come crawling on back, so why bother to pack?
McClane grins. He likes Argyle, even if he is direct.
Like I said, Argyle, you're fast.
Mind if I play some tunes?
Argyle pops a tape into the cassette player and turns it up.
How about some Christmas music?
That is Christmas music.
The limo arrives at one of the biggest stars of this story. The well-lit, impressive, and spanking new Nakatomi building.
So you going upstairs to the party. Your lady sees you, you run into each other's arms, music comes up, and you live happily ever after. That it?
It's corny, but I could live with it.
What if it don't work out that way? Where are you going to stay?
I'll find someplace.
Tell you what, I'll pull into the parking garage and wait. You score with your wife and give me a call on the car phone, and I'll leave your bags inside at the desk. Strike out, I'll get you to a hotel.
He hands McClane a business card with the number on it.
You're all right, Argyle.
Just remember that when you're signing for the tip. They're paying for it, so don't be shy.
McClane heads inside to the nearly vacant lobby. He approaches the guard behind a massive high-tech desk.
Holly McClane?
The guard points to a prominent touchscreen computer console in the desk. McClane gives the guard a look, but types McClane. Holly. Pause. The screen replies, "No such employee listed." He thinks, then types, "Gennaro, Holly." This time, the screen shows an elevation of the building and a floor plan of the 30th floor with Holly's office blinking.
Cute toy.
McClane moves to the elevators, taking in all the high-tech cameras mounted in the lobby.
Lots of hardware.
McClane hits 30 in the elevator and reacts to the hyper-powered speed with which he rises. Ding! The elevator doors open on an office holiday party shenanigans. McClane tries to seek out Holly in the crowd, but bumps into Rivers first.
Excuse me, I'm looking for...
Holly Gennaro?
Yeah, how'd you know?
I've spent half my life on airplanes. I can recognize someone who just got off one. I'm Joe Rivers, Mr. McClane. I have something to do with this company.
So I've heard.
Mr. Rivers leads the way to Holly's office, where McClane notices the name on the door is again Gennaro.
Holly went to the vault room to fax some documents. She should be back any minute.
As Rivers opens the door, Ellis is behind the desk sniffing something that looks like snow and immediately tries to cover it up.
Hi, I just had to make a quick call. This was the nearest place.
Ellis, this is John McClane, Holly's policeman. Ellis is in charge of international acquisitions.
That explains the recent deal with Bolivia.
Ellis runs a checking finger under his nose.
Relax, Ellis. I'm off duty.
Can I get you anything? Food, cake, watered down champagne punch?
I'm fine. For quite a party. I didn't know they had Christmas in Japan.
Actually, it's kind of a double celebration. We closed a pretty big deal today, and it was a lot due to Holly.
All set, Joe. The contracts went over the wire, and John.
McClane and Holly have a moment. Does the sound of the party stop for him? We know it. For her, it's more cryptic. We sure hope so.
I was hoping you made that flight.
I was hoping you were hoping that.
She laughs, awkwardly kisses him on the cheek.
Your wife's made for this business. She knows how to drive a hard bargain.
Yeah, remember our first date.
Show him the watch. Go on, show him. What are you, embarrassed? A little token of our appreciation for all of her hard work.
Nice. But, one of us is 3 hours out of sync. I think it's me. Is there a place I can wash up?
Sure. Follow me.
Alone, Mr. Rivers looks at Ellis, shows his disapproval of certain snow at Christmas. In Ellis's office, McClane is taking the advice of the businessman. He is barefoot, clinching and unclinching his toes.
Bitch, it works.
What are you doing?
Long story. You know, I think Ellis has his eye on you.
That's okay. I have an eye on his private bathroom.
McClane's face shows his relief, or rather, his attempt not to show any.
So, where are you staying? This all happened so fast, I didn't even ask you on the phone.
Well, Cappy Roberts retired out here a couple years ago. He said I could bunk with him.
Oh, where does he live?
Pomona. That's it.
Pomona? You'll be in the car the whole time. Look, let's make this easy. I have a spare bedroom. It's not huge, but the kids would love to have you at the house.
They would, huh?
I would too.
They lock eyes for a moment, but it's an intense moment that says a lot about how they still feel about each other.
I've missed you.
Especially my name. You must miss it every time you write a check. When did you start calling yourself Miss Gennaro?
This is a Japanese company, you know. They figured a married woman, she's on the way out the door.
Sure, it's unnerving. I remember this one particular married woman. She went out the door so fast there was practically a jet wash. I mean, talk about your wind chill factor.
Damn it, John. There was an opportunity out here. I had to take it.
No matter what it did to our marriage?
My job and my title and my salary did nothing to our marriage except change your idea of what it should be.
Oh, here it comes. One of those meaningful relationship conversations. I never should have let you get those magazine subscriptions.
You want to know my idea of a marriage? It's a partnership where people help each other over the rough spots, console each other when there's a down and when there's an up. Well, hell, a little goddamn applause or an attaboy wouldn't be too hard. I needed that, John. I deserved that.
She pauses, clumsily, almost challenging him to say something, but he only sets his jaw. Just then the door opens and Jenny leans inside.
Miss Gennaro, Mr. Rivers is looking for you. He wants you to say something to the troops.
Thanks, Jenny. I'll be a second. Oh, this is...
Hi, John Gennaro here. I'm the sensitive and supportive man of the 80s.
Jenny looks puzzled, goes out. Holly sighs, moves to the door.
I'll be a few minutes. Wait here.
Don't I always?
She's gone.
Schmuck.
McClane looks at all of the lavishness around him and picks up a phone by the toilet. He opens his wallet and takes out the phone number Argyle gave him, but a photo stops him from dialing. It's of Holly, the 2 children, and himself in happier days. McClane returns the photo and dials the number. Meanwhile, the lobby guard at the front desk notices an Emery truck in the basement on his monitor. This curious sight distracts him from the two extremely well-dressed businessmen talking animatedly as they entered the building.
So, Kareem rebounds. Listen, this is a great play. Feeds Worthy on the break, over to AC, to Magic, back to Worthy in the lane, and...
Suddenly, the other man pulls out a pistol with a silencer and aims it at the guard's forehead. Before the guard can react, he pulls the trigger.
Boom. 2 points.
The killer, Christoph, moves behind the desk while the first man, Theo, opens his briefcase and takes out a portable radio.
We're in.
Ding! The doors at the service elevator open to reveal Hans Gruber, impeccably dressed. He steps out into the lobby like he owns the building. And in a way, he does. An elevator opens, revealing more men, all armed to the teeth. One of them, Eddie, goes to the dead guard and immediately begins changing into his clothes to take his position behind the desk. Carl and his brother Tony, playfully punching each other, head for the matrix of phone lines in the basement. Together, they focus on 4 CPV plastic conduits. Carl points out what to do. Tony nods and opens a case, revealing a compact electric chainsaw.
Argyle?
Hey, John, what's the word on you and your lady?
Boat's not in yet.
Boat's not in yet. What's that supposed to mean?
Simultaneously, Carl cuts through the 4 tubes of the phone lines, one at a time.
What? Mr. Matt, you there? Call me back, John. You got the number.
McClane hangs up the original phone and then tries the other one on the desk. It, too, is dead.
That's not right.
Hans and the others are approaching the party floor in the elevator, weapons ready. Ding! Fritz and Franco open fire as soon as the elevator doors open. McClane immediately grabs his shoulder harness and moves to the doorway. Down the hall, he sees 2 terrorists searching the offices. They're moving fast. He's totally outgunned, and he knows it. He looks across the corridor and sees a stairwell door. Too far to reach without being seen, Franco and Fritz reach the office just before Ellis and throw open the door, revealing a man and a woman in the throes of passionate lovemaking. The 2 terrorists smile at each other, then enter the office. As Fritz finishes taking care of the lovebirds, Franco goes to Ellis's office, but it is empty. McClane has made his way up the stairwell onto the next totally empty floor. He picks up a phone. It's out.
Shit. Think.
He continues to run around exploring the building for something that can help the situation and noting his
32
surroundings.
construction, 33 computers.
The employees have been herded to the center of the room where they were partying only moments ago. Holly looks around the room intently for McClane, not seeing Christoph wave her forward. Exasperated, he shoves her. Her glare at him shows us her mettle, whereas Ellis's is clearly scared but trying to fake courage. He pats her hand reassuringly. Hans steps up on top of a desk and looks over the group.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to the Nakatomi Corporation's legacy of greed around the globe, it is about to be taught a lesson on real power. You will be witnesses. If our demands are not met, however, you may become participants instead. Now, where is Mr. Rivers? Where is the man who used to be in charge here?
Mr. Rivers is shoved forward. He's worried but far from cowed.
Mr. Rivers, how do you do? My name is Hans Gruber.
Mr. Rivers is confused by his charm. Hans waves politely in the direction of the elevator and takes the executive away. Hans, Rivers, Carl, and Tony ride silently up a few floors. Hans alone seems relaxed. He whistles.
Nice suit. John Phillips. London?
Mr. Rivers stares at him, speechless.
I have two myself.
Meanwhile, McClane has made his way up to the roof. Quietly, he cracks the door and looks out onto the machine floor on the lower level of the roof. He sees terrorists Uli and Hindrik unpacking a wooden crate from the service elevator. It's not clear what they're doing, but it seems very military-like. Heinrich points up to the ceiling and says something in German. McClane closes the door and slips back down the stairs. Hans and his minions enter with Mr. Rivers into the conference room.
And when Alexander saw the breadth of his domain, he wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer. The benefits of a classical education.
Hans admires a scale model of a bridge. Behind it are photographs of the gorge where the bridge will be constructed.
It's beautiful. I always enjoyed models as a boy. The exactness, the attention to every foreseeable detail. Perfection.
This is what this is about? Our building project in Indonesia? Contrary to what you people think, we're going to develop that region, not exploit it.
Hans straightens, looks hard at Mr. Rivers.
I believe you. I read the article in Forbes.
Hans puts a friendly arm around the confused Rivers and guides him into the adjacent boardroom where Christoph types in commands on a built-in computer console.
Mr. Rivers, we could discuss industrialization of men's fashions all day, but I'm afraid my associate, Mr. Theo, has some questions for you. Sort of fill-in-the-blanks questions, actually.
Christoph has his fingers poised over the keyboard. He and Hans are expecting an answer.
I don't have that code. You broke in here to access our computer? Any information you could get. They wake up in Tokyo in the morning, they'll change it. You want me able to blackmail our executives or threaten?
Sit down!
Mr. Rivers complies. Hans is abruptly compassionate and quiet.
Mr. Rivers, I'm not interested in your computer. I'm interested in the $64 million in negotiable bearer bonds you have in your vault. Yes, I know about them. The code key is a necessary step in accessing the vault.
You want money? What kind of terrorists are you?
Who said we were terrorists?
McClane has entered this floor, tiptoes along, gun held ready. He can hear the mumble of voices from the conference room. He slides under the conference table in the adjacent room with frosted glass doors and watches as Hans slowly takes out his pistol.
The code key, please.
It's useless to you. There's 7 safeguards on our vault, and the code key is only one of them. You'll never get it open.
Then there's no reason not to tell us.
I told you.
Not over.
Hans gives them both a look like an annoyed schoolmaster and turns back to Mr. Rivers.
This is too nice a suit to ruin, Mr. Rivers. I'm going to count to 3. There will not be a 4.
Get on a goddamn jet to Tokyo and ask the chairman. I'm telling you, you're just gonna have to kill me.
Okay. Bang!
He pulls the trigger. McClane reacts as if he's been the one that's been shot.
We do it the hard way. Tony, see if you can dispose of that. Carl, you better check Heinrich's work upstairs.
Carl, in the midst of handling Christoph, a $50 bill, nods. McClane tries to retreat, but his gun bumps the underside of the table. Hans hears it, and Carl is the first to move. He springs through the door and finds nothing. Only the adjoining room. It's locked. Carl turns to Hans.
Nothing.
See to Heinrich. Now, Theo can break the code key.
You didn't bring us along for our charming personalities, though you could have.
Hans smiles, confident in his team. As they head to the elevator, we peek back at the door that Carl found locked, and then inside a supply closet where McClane is praying softly.
Argyle, tell me you heard that shot. Tell me you heard that shot and you're calling the police right now.
In the limo, Argyle is on the car phone with music playing.
I'm working, honey. Working hard. Of course I'll be by to pick you up. Have I ever lied to you? My boss? He thinks I'm cruising at Palm Springs.
Hans and Theo enter the vault room where the huge corporate safe looms in front of them. Theo places 3 knit kit bags onto a table and rolls up his sleeves. He swivels a computer console into a handy reach and gets to work.
How long?
30 minutes to break the code, 2 hours for 5 mechanicals. The 7th block, that's out of my hands.
If our plan works, the FBI will get rid of it for us.
McClane is out of the supply closet and on the move again.
Why the fuck didn't you stop him? Because, you ignorant son of a bitch, you'd be dead too. Think, goddammit.
Suddenly, he looks up at the ceiling and sees a sprinkler head. His look drops to the wall and focuses on a small red fire alarm switch by the door. He pulls it and runs to the window to look for fire trucks. Suddenly, we see the flashing red lights of 4 engines in traffic 2 miles away.
Come on, baby, come to Papa. I'm gonna kiss your goddamn Dalmatian.
Down in the lobby, a fire alarm indicator light showing which floor has sounded the fire alarm suddenly begins flashing imminent, short, loud beeps. Eddie, the terrorist in the guard's uniform manning the station, immediately picks up his radio.
Call 911, give them the name and badge number on your uniform and cancel the alarm. Then disable the system. Eddie, what floor did the alarm go off?
McClane sees the red light on the first truck go out, and then the second. The trucks slow and turn down separate side streets heading for home.
Son of a bitch!
Ding! Tony exits the elevator with his gun drawn, but McClane is gone.
Fire has been called off, my friend. No one is coming to help you. You might as well come out and join the others. I promise not to hurt you.
Moving more confidently, he steps up to the cubicle that McClane is hiding under, and then around it, and fires a blast into the open space. As the sound of machine guns fade, he listens and hears another sound. A noise coming from the other end of the room. He moves towards it. Sensing a trap, he moves cautiously, but quickly, and spins around a partition to see a radial arm saw spinning noisily. Tony laughs at his nervousness. He moves to turn it off, not realizing the sound was buried. The soft rustle of McClane, who appears behind him, and BAM! McClane shoves his pistol barrel against Tony's temple.
Freeze. Police. Don't move or name your beneficiary.
Tony watches him calmly.
You won't hurt me.
Yeah? Why not?
Because you're a policeman. There are rules for policemen.
Yeah. My captain keeps telling me the same thing.
McClane suddenly pistol whips Tony across the head. Tony reels, then swallows, worried for the first time.
Let's go.
It's a brawl. The men are evenly matched, exchanging blows all over the floor until McClane grips Tony in a headlock at the top of the stairwell landing. They crash down the concrete steps into the wall and the landing below. For a moment, both men lie still. McClane, still holding onto Tony's neck, releases it, and the man's head flops, sickeningly, to the side. For a moment, McClane just looks at the dead man. Then he begins to search him. He turns all of his pockets inside out. He stares long and very hard at a California driver's license with Tony's picture on it until he hears a hissing sound coming from Tony's radio. McClane stares at it, formulating a plan. But first, McClane takes some of Tony's belongings, and then his eyes fall on some Christmas decorations nearby. He smiles to himself. His plan just got better. Back with the hostages, Hans stands in front of them like a stern camp counselor in front of an assembled bunk.
I wanted this to be professional, efficient, adult, cooperative. Not a lot to ask. Alas, your Mr. Rivers did not see it that way, so he won't be joining us for the rest of his life. We are prepared to go any way you make us. When we have achieved our aims, you can walk out of here. or be carried out. Decide now, each of you. But remember that we have planned everything to the last detail. We are completely in charge.
Ding! The elevator doors open and Fritz, guarding the area, whirls, gun held ready. His jaw drops as he sees Tony's body, still and dead, flopped in a swivel chair, a Santa hat gaily placed on his head.
Get the hostages away! Schnell!
The hostages are quickly hustled away, but not before Holly sees the body. She knows her husband's abilities, not to mention his twisted sense of humor. Hans comes to the elevator with Franco, lifts Tony's chin, and sees that his neck has been snapped. He sees a folded piece of paper in Tony's collar and takes it out.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Perhaps a security guard we overlooked?
Security guard. They're usually tired and burned out old policemen. This is something else.
We realize that McClane is staring through a tiny crack at the scene below him from the roof of the elevator. He is writing in his weather-beaten cop's notebook.
Number of hostages, Holly, plus 30. Odd. Number of terrorists, 1 in lobby, 2 plus with the hostages, plus 2 on roof.
We have to do something, Hans!
Yes, we have to tell Carl his brother is dead. Tell him to come down.
Hans equals leader, Carl equals brother. Use this.
Franco, you and Fritz take the body upstairs and out of sight. I don't want the hostages to think too much.
Franco and Fritz step into the car and the doors of the elevator close. The car accelerates upward and McClane grabs onto the heavy grease-coated cables to keep his balance. The car speeds up the shaft and stops at the machine floor where they dump the body. McClane looks up at the metal catwalk that runs around the inside of the elevator shaft and pulls himself onto it and up a nearby ladder. He cracks the door open at the top to reveal the lower level of the roof, open and deserted. Only a heliport above him is higher. In Holly's office, where Hans has set up shop, Carl flings a filing cabinet across the floor, drawers slamming out, papers flying. He's barely started. He flings a lamp against the wall, punches a hole in the plaster. Finally, Hans goes to him to control the situation.
I know what you are feeling, but this is not productive.
It was my only brother, my only family. I want blood for my blood. We search. Now.
He starts to move. Hans stops him.
No. Heinrich's team must finish planting the detonators. And Theo needs time on the vault. If the police come, they'll waste hours trying to negotiate. That's when we search for this man. Until then, we do not alter the plan.
And if he alters it?
Back on the roof, McClane climbs to the heliport and leans against the leeward side of the wall surrounding it. Shielded from the wind, he pulls out the CB, turns to Channel 9, and starts broadcasting.
What's happening? They don't look happy. Something's gone wrong.
The police?
John.
Christ, he could fuck this whole thing up. What does he think he's doing?
How about his job?
His job is 3,000 miles away. Without him, they might let us go. At least we'd have a chance.
Tell that to Mr. Rivers.
Hans, Carl, Fritz, and Franco hear the clear signal over Hans's radio.
Mayday! Mayday, anyone. Terrorists have seized the Nakatomi building. They are holding 30 or more hostages. I say again.
Carl almost looks satisfied.
No number of terrorists, 6 or more, armed with automatic weapons at Nakatomi, Century City. Somebody answer me, goddammit!
The roof. That's the best place to transmit.
Attention, whoever you are. This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
No fucking shit, lady. Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
No one kills him but me.
It's an order.
They've already killed one hostage, and they're fortifying their positions while we're bullshitting. Now send some
Sir,
police
I've
back
already told
up
you this is a
ASAP.
reserved channel. If this is an emergency call, dial 911 on your telephone. Otherwise, I will report you to the
Fine.
police.
Report me. Hey, come on down here. Fucking arrest me. Send the police. Now!
Suddenly, Carl's bullets rip into the concrete wall in front of him. The noise is deafening, and McClane is running. He leaps down to the next level out of range and books it back to the door that led him to the roof. As soon as he's on the other side of the door and down the ladder, we hear McClane's radio.
We'll have a black and white do a drive-by.
Down the street, a customer is loading stacks of Twinkies onto a 7-Eleven counter. The customer is Powell. Young for a police veteran, old for the rest of the world. As Powell pays, suddenly his belt radio crackles to life.
Dispatch to 1 Adam 10. Over.
1 Adam 10, go ahead.
Investigate a code 2 at Nakatomi Plaza, Century City.
Nakatomi Plaza?
Powell looks towards the horizon and up. There it is, Nakatomi, in all its gleaming glory.
1 Adam 10. Do you copy?
Powell is already moving to the car. He tosses in the Twinkies, hops behind the wheel.
Roger, dispatch, I'm on the way.
And he burns rubber, leaving the store. McClane, running back down the catwalk, stops. The catwalk ends, and the elevator is gone. Carl has followed close behind, but his radio crackles with Hans's voice.
Carl, Franco, did you catch him?
No, but he's in the elevator shaft.
Perfect. The elevators are locked off. He can't escape. Just shut him in and return to base.
Hans, he killed my brother.
Carl, I know you want him, but the police are probably on their way. Maybe we can convince them it was all a mistake, but not if they hear gunshots. If you lock him in, he'll be neutralized. Now do it! Carl?
Carl turns off his radio. McClane has overheard enough of this to realize he's in deep shit. He MacGyvers a rig out of his shoulder harness and uses it to lower down into a nearby air duct. Carl rounds the corner to see McClane's rig at the end of the catwalk. He shines his light and aims his rifle down into the elevator shaft, ready to fire, but the shaft is deserted. Seeing the air duct, he connects the dots. McClane lies exhausted and motionless in the narrow crawl space of the air duct. He awkwardly fishes out a lighter from his shirt pocket and thumbs it on. The flickering glow shows him that this ain't no place for claustrophobics. It is a long, dark and narrow corridor filled with weird shadows. The far end, if there is one, it's black.
For a moment there, I was worried.
Carl and the others have reached McClane's floor. The others are looking around, but Carl's eyes look up. The ceiling is crisscrossed with air ducts. He fires a burst into the ducts. 3 quarter-size holes, just inches from McClane's face, shows how close Carl came to nailing him. But he doesn't make a peep.
Carl, police, come on!
Carl hesitates, then lowers his gun and leaves. McClane hears the doors close behind him. Up in the vault room, Theo is typing furiously until he sees access code accepted. We hear a clunk. Lock number 1 disabled. Do you wish to proceed? Theo holds out his hands towards Kristoff like a doctor requesting a scalpel. Kristoff enthusiastically gives him a giant drill. Down on the Avenue of Stars, Powell has parked his car and is scanning the premises.
Guards inside, no signs of disturbance. I'm going up for a closer look.
Hans watches Powell approach the building from above on the 30th floor. He raises his radio.
Eddie?
Had a feeling you'd be calling.
Let him in.
Eddie is a little startled, but he moves quickly. Powell tries the front doors, locked. Eddie comes hustling across to let him in.
Evening, officer. What's up?
Powell steps in and looks around.
We got an emergency call that there was a problem here.
McClane punches out the ceiling vent and drops down into the room. For a moment he stands, listening for sounds of movement. The floor is quiet. He goes to the windows and looks down at the street, seeing Powell's lone, unimpressive cruiser.
There's the fucking cavalry.
Powell walks casually across the slick floor of the lobby, eyes panning the area. Eddie sits casually watching a game on one of his monitor screens.
Oh, shit, come on, you assholes! I got $50 on you guys!
Pal's face shows us he's starting to think he's wasting his time. McClane decides not to wait to find out what happens next. He lifts one of the big chairs and swings it at the window. The glass whitens from the first blow, but Marco suddenly appears at the door and fires a round at McClane. McClane goes down behind a table. Marco moves around the other side of the table, but finds no one. He looks around frantically, then squats beneath the table and sees McClane, lying, prone, his pistol trained on him.
Drop it or you're a rug stain.
Marco springs on top of the table. McClane aims directly above him and fires twice into the underside of the table. The bullets rip through the table and Marco, who drops beside McClane. In the lobby, all Pal can hear is "Let it snow, let it snow." He stops just a yard from seeing the armed terrorist.
Sorry to waste your time. Merry Christmas.
He turns back and heads for the door. Eddie moves to lock up after him.
Please, no.
McClane rolls out from under the table, goes to the windows, and looks down in time to see Powell heading for his car. Desperate, he leans on the glass, which cracks, again, on the verge of going. McClane thinks, looks over his shoulder at the body of Marco.
1 Adam 10 to 6421. We had a wild goose chase on that 436. Everything's okay here, over.
We thought it was a crank call anyways. Clear to code 8.
Roger. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Suddenly, Marco's body crashes onto the hood of his car.
Jesus H. Christ! 6421, this is 1 Adam 10.
Suddenly, a barrage of machine gun fire rains down from Nakatomi, but Powell accelerates in reverse away from the building. A half block away, his car runs off the pavement and down a slope, finally bouncing to a jarring halt in a parking lot.
1 Adam 10 under automatic rifle fire at Nakatomi, requesting immediate backup and SWAT assistance.
Welcome to the party, pal!
In the office of a local TV station, Richard Thornburg, local TV news reporter, is on the phone with his girlfriend.
Wolfgang and me were like that. I interviewed him.
Units.
Hold on, babe.
He's become aware of what's coming from the police scanner next to him.
Century City, request assistant.
Merri, this is Dick. I want a remote truck and a crew to meet me at the South Gate in 15 minutes. Damn right, 15. Where are we going? For an Emmy.
We knew that police action was inevitable. In fact, it's necessary. So let them start their feeble efforts. Until then, stay calm. We have the hostages, remember. We are still in charge.
Suddenly, Hans's radio crackles to life.
I told all of you I want radio silence until further...
Sorry, Hans. Nobody gave me the message. You should have put it on the bulletin board. Anyway, I thought you, Franco, and Carl, and the other boys might be lonely. Now I waxed Tony and Marco and their buddies, so I invited some of my guys for my card game.
How does he know so much about
Ah, how nice of you to call. I assume you are a mysterious party crasher. You are most troublesome for a security guard?
Sorry, Hans. Wrong guess. Would you like to go for Double Jeopardy, where the stakes are...
Shit.
He rolls Marco over and is delighted to find a pack of Marlboro cigarettes in the man's pocket. He takes them, pats the dead man's face.
Bad for your health anyway.
Who are you, then?
Just a fly in the ointment, Hans. The monkey in the wrench. The pain in the ass.
McClane stops mid-speech. He's just opened the kit bag Marco had and takes out the contents. Dozens and dozens of explosive detonators marked danger and a chunk of cello-wrapped plastique the size of an electric razor.
Check on the others. Don't use the radio. See if he's lying about Marco and find out if anyone else is missing. Mr. Mystery Guest, are you still there?
I wouldn't think of leaving, Hans. Unless you want to open up the front door.
You have me at a loss. You know my name, but who are you? Just another American who saw too many movies as a child. Another orphan of a bankrupt culture who thinks he's John Wayne, Rambo, Marshall Dillon.
Actually, I was always partial to Roy Rogers. I really dug those sequin shirts.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
McClane is out the stairwell door and gone by the time the search party steps onto his floor. Hans sits quietly, thinking, when Carl returns from his search.
I wasn't lying about Marco. He's 30 stories down on the street. And his bag is missing.
He had the detonators! Theo! Theo!
Theo has drilled 2 holes in the safe and is working on a third when he hears the radio.
Yo!
We may have some problems. How is your schedule?
3 down, 4 to go.
Don't waste time talking to me.
This is Sergeant Powell of the Los Angeles Police Department. If the person who radioed for help on this channel can hear me, acknowledge this transmission.
I read you, pal. You the guy in the car?
What's left of him? Can you identify yourself?
Maybe later. Just listen fast because this is a party line and the neighbors are trigger happy. Now here's the skinny. There's 30 or so hostages on the 30th floor with probably 2 or 3 guards to cover a group that size. The leader is named Hans, and besides the pea shooter he ventilated your car with, they got machine guns and sidearms up the yin-yang.
We have to find him and shut him up. He's telling them everything.
The police are irrelevant. We're waiting for the FBI. Until they arrive, we can't finish our work. Meanwhile, let this fool waste time for the police. Fritz, go help Uli find the bag. We must find those detonators.
How many are there?
And there's at least 1 to cover the lobby, a couple with the hostages. I say they come about a dozen, but they're down to 9 now, including the skydiver you already met. These guys are mostly Europeans, judging by the clothing labels, and well-financed, very slick.
How do you know?
I've seen enough phony IDs in my time to recognize the ones that cost a fortune. Add that all up, and I don't know what the fuck it means, but there's some badass preps, and they're here to stay.
We notice that everything McClane has said about clothing and IDs and police jargon, etc., has set off a little buzzer in Powell's brain.
I hear you, partner. And LA's finest are on it, so light 'em if you got 'em.
I'm ahead of you, partner.
What do I call you?
A moment. McClane smiles. What the hell?
Roy.
Got it, Roy. Now listen, if you think of anything else you think we need to know, don't be shy, okay? In the meantime, I want you to find a safe place and hole up and let us do our job, understand?
They're all yours, Al. Good luck.
Just then, a man in a sport coat lands on the scene, stocky, his hair a little too perfect. The very fact that he is the deputy chief of police operations on a Christmas Eve gives us evidence to his position in the pecking order.
Who's talking to him?
I am, sir. Sergeant Al Powell.
Dwayne Robinson. Well, what have we learned? What do they want?
The terrorists? Don't know, sir. We haven't heard a peep from him.
Then who the hell you been talking to?
He won't give us his name. He appears to be the man who called in the report. He's killed one of the terrorists for sure and claims he capped 2 others.
Claims. Powell, has it occurred to you that he could be one of those terrorists pulling your chain? Or some kind of nutcase who,
I don't think so, sir. In fact, I think he's a cop. Maybe not LAPD, but definitely a badge.
How do you know?
A hunch. Things he said, like knowing how to recognize a phony ID.
Recognizing a phony ID? Christ, Powell, he could be a fucking bartender for all we know.
Richard Thornburg's news truck draws their attention. On the hostage floor,
shit.
Hans barely shows his surprise as Fritz enters with the hostage. I have a request.
Oh? What idiot put you in charge?
You did. You murdered my boss. Now, they're looking to me. Personally, I'd pass on the job. I don't enjoy being this close to you.
Go on.
We have a pregnant woman out there. Relax. She's not due for 2 weeks, but a marble floor isn't doing her back any good. I'd like permission for her to move to one of the offices where there's a sofa.
No, but I'll have a sofa brought out to you. Good enough.
Good enough. And unless you like things messy, you'd better start taking us in groups to the bathroom.
Yes, you're right. It will be done. Mr. Rivers chose his people well, Mrs.
Gennaro. Miss Gennaro.
He nods thoughtfully, and she goes out. Hans suddenly notices a nearby TV has appeared with the shot of the Nakatomi building. Richard Thornburg is in front.
This is Richard Thornburg speaking to you live from Century City, where Los Angeles has joined the sad but worldwide fraternity whose only membership requirement is the awesome specter of international terrorism.
Holy shit.
We're told the situation began some 2 hours ago when an unidentified party of men took over the building and sealed off all of its entrances and exits.
Argyle pours himself a stiff drink.
Since all the telephone lines have been cut, the only contact with the building has been through the use of CB radio communicators, which the terrorists brought with them. Strangely enough, so far the terrorists have not communicated directly with the police, but an unidentified man has had several conversations which seem to indicate...
Behind Thornburg, uniformed men are organizing. Pal picks up on this and turns to Robinson, who is now standing with the SWAT captain, Mitchell.
What's going on?
What's it look like? We're going in.
Going in? Are you out of your mind? There's 30 hostages in there for all we know.
We don't know shit, Powell. If there's hostages, why hasn't anyone asked for ransom? If there's terrorists, where's their list of goddamn demands? All we know is that someone shot up your car, and it could be the same flake you've been talking to on the radio.
What about the body that fell out the window?
Maybe he was a stockbroker or looked at the Dow Jones and opted for early retirement.
Chief, we're ready.
I'm coming.
Smith, begin your reconnoiter.
Inside, McClane realizes that the Marlboro pack has only 2 more to go. He savors the dregs of his current number, then looks out the window, seeing hints of activity in the darkness.
Al, you still with me?
Robinson looks at him
What's
waringly,
going on, Al?
shakes his head.
I'm here, Roy. But, I'm kinda busy. I'll talk later, okay?
Al, what's wrong? Did something... Oh, God, you're coming in? That's it, isn't it? Christ, pal, I told you what we're dealing with here.
I said we'll talk later, Roy. If you're up to what I think you are in there, you should know when to listen, when to shut up, and when to pray.
Hating himself, Pal disconnects. Also hating himself, McClane does the same thing. Hans hunches over his communicator.
Get ready, Theo. Watch the screens. Be our eyes and ears. Wait until they're closed.
Smith moves to the door, scans it carefully.
We're in position.
In the safe room, Christoph drills away while Theo sits at the bank monitors. Screen after screen pinpoints all the police activity outside down to the last detail.
It was the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, except for the 4 assholes coming in the rear in standard 2x2 cover formation.
Smith uses a welding torch and begins cutting through the locks. McClane can't see a thing because of the lights, but he knows what's happening.
Oh.
Suddenly, rifle fire sounds from the building.
They're shooting at him!
Panic fire. They can't see anything.
The huge dome of one of the spotlights shatters.
They're going after the lights. Call them!
No, they're almost in.
The 3rd and 4th lights are shot out, and the SWAT men have become sitting ducks.
Don't be impatient. Just wound them.
He's talking to Uli, who has stationed himself at a perfect vantage point. He fires. He hits one of the officers in the leg, the second one in the arm.
Send in the car!
An armored car wheels towards the building to provide shelter while the wounded men turn back. But Fritz just happens to have a man-portable, recoilless, anti-tank rocket launcher weapon. In other words, a bazooka.
I have Zim.
Fire.
A blast roars from the 3rd floor window and hits the armored car. The car pitches forward, its front axle destroyed, unable to move. Fritz grins like a sick son of a gun.
Hit it again.
Hans, you motherfucker, you made your point, let them pull back.
Thank you, Mr. Cowboy. I'll take it under advisement. Hit it again.
McClane slumps to the floor below the window, feeling hopeless. Then he notices his kit bag. Fritz has started reloading his bazooka. It's a process for one person. Robinson and Mitchell look on in horror as the armored car sits helplessly on fire.
Smith, Rodriguez, report.
This is Smith. We've got one dead. Everybody's hit. Rodriguez is bleeding bad. We've got to get the fuck out of here.
Smith, hang on. That's an order. Hang on, we'll get you out.
McClane is booking it to the elevator with a plastic explosive on the seat of a secretary's chair. He's wheeling it around like a maniac. He looks down the elevator shaft and sees the car 35 floors below, where Fritz and the bazooka are. Fritz has just finished reloading the bazooka and is taking aim when McClane pushes the chair into the shaft.
Geronimo, motherfuckers.
The explosion, like a firestorm, rips across the floor, blowing out the bazooka and Fritz. The concussive wave sends McClane reeling back.
They're using artillery on us.
You idiot. It's not the police. It's him.
McClane sits up from where he landed on the floor.
Al, the guys in the car. They make it?
Pal watches as the survivors are pulled out from the wreck into safety.
Safe and sound, thanks to you. And what the fuck was that?
Plastique I found. Is the building on fire?
No, but it's gonna need one hell of a paint job and a shitload of screen doors. Our spotters say you got 2 with that blast.
Who? You sure?
Is that him?
Yes, sir.
Give me that. Now you listen to me, mister. I don't know what you think you're doing, but demolishing a building doesn't fall under the definition of help. There's hundreds of people out here, and you covered them in pieces of glass.
Glass my ass! Who the fuck is this?
This is Deputy Chief of Police Robert Dwayne T. Robertson, and I am in charge of this situation.
Well, from up here, it looks like you're in charge of shit, Dwayne. I haven't seen such a fucked up operation since the Bride of Frankenstein. Ask the guys in the armored car if they minded a little flying glass.
Listen, asshole.
Asshole! I'm not the one who just got fucked on national TV, Dwayne. Now, if you're not part of the solution, stop being part of the problem. Get off the goddamn radio and put Al back on.
McClane is so furious, he's out of breath. There's a long pause on the radio then.
Hello, Roy. How you feeling?
Pretty fucking unappreciated.
Robinson still monitors the conversation.
Hey, I love you. So do a lot of the guys. So hang in there, man. Hang in there.
Thanks, partner.
The hostages have turned to the TV that the terrorists graciously provided them with, straining to get any updates they can from the news.
Of the Nakatomi building, sources say that the terrorist leader Hans may be this man, Hans Gruber.
A slide of Hans appears. Hans smiles modestly as the hostages recognize him.
A member of the radical West German Volksfrei movement. Strangely, the Volksfrei leadership issued a communique an hour ago stating that Gruber had been expelled from the organization and is operating on his own. Obviously, whatever his affiliation, it's safe to say that Gruber's terrorist actions in the Los Angeles tonight are, well, terroristic.
All the bullshit continues. Alice suddenly stands, heads towards the terrorist's office. Immediately, the chief guard here, Fritz, moves to intercept Ellis.
Where are you going?
I'm tired of sitting here waiting to see who gets us killed first. Them or your husband. Hi there.
What are you going to do?
$1 million deals for breakfast. I can handle these clowns. I want to talk to Hans. Hans? Spurkenzie talk?
He doesn't wait for an answer and heads to the office.
You wouldn't let me kill him when I had the chance.
If you'd listened to me, he would be neutralized already.
I want dead.
All turn at a rap on the door. Ellis is there with Fritz right behind.
Look, let's be straight, okay? It's obvious you're not some dumb thug up here to snatch a few purses, am I right?
Carl looks at Ellis and then at Hans as if to say, let me snuff this asshole right now. But Hans is either amused or curious or bored. Either way, he shakes his head.
Very perceptive.
Hey, I read the papers. I watch 60 Minutes. I say to myself, these guys are professionals. They're motivated. They're happening and they want something. Now, personally, I don't care about your politics. That's none of my business. I figure you're here to negotiate. Am I right?
You're amazing. You figured this all out already?
Hey, business is business. You use a gun, I use a fountain pen. But what's the difference? To put it in my terms, you're here on a hostile takeover and you grab us for some green mail, but you didn't expect a poison pill was going to be running around the building. Hans, baby, I'm your white knight.
I must have missed 60 Minutes. What are you saying?
The guy upstairs who's fucking things up, I can give him to you.
Roy, you all right?
McClane grimaces, mouth full of Twinkies he's just found. He has made it a point to groan into the radio about stale Twinkies.
Yeah, just trying to handle some year-old Twinkies. Yuck. What are they putting these things?
Sugar, enriched flour, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, polysorbate 60, and yellow dye number 5.
You sound like a guy with a couple of kids.
Not yet. The wife and I are working on our relationship first. You got any kids back at the ranch?
2. And I'd sure like to see them swinging on the jungle gym with Al Jr.
It's a date. You buy the ice cream.
They laugh. Hopeful at the memory, until we hear a new voice on the radio.
Touching, cowboy. Touching. Or should I call you Mr. McClane? Mr. Officer John McClane of the NYPD.
How much do they know? Thornburg, listening to the police scanner, gleefully writes down the name.
Sister Teresa in the 3rd grade called me Mr. McClane. My friends call me John Mac. You're neither, shithead.
I have someone who wants to talk to you. A very special friend who is at the party with you tonight.
Oh, God. Eyes closed, he waits for the voice that tells him it's all over.
Hello, John boy.
McClane's eyes open, showing equal parts shock and hope.
Ellis?
John, they're giving me a few minutes to try and talk some sense into you. I know you think you're doing your job, and I can appreciate that, but you're just dragging things out. None of us can get out of here until these people can negotiate with the LA police. They're just not going to start doing that until you stop messing things up.
Ellis, what have you told them?
I told them we're old friends, and you were my guest at the party.
Ellis, you shouldn't be doing this.
Tell me about it. All right, John, listen to me. They want me to tell you to give them the detonators and tell them where they are. They know people are listening. They want the detonators or they are going to kill me.
He looks at Hans, who gives him a nod. Powell and Robinson listen intently. McClane knows what is going to happen, even if this poor bastard Ellis doesn't.
John, did you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, you fucking moron.
John, I think you could get with the program a little. The police are here now. It's their problem. Tell these guys where the detonators are so no one gets hurt. Hey, I'm putting my life on the line here for you, buddy.
Don't you think I know that? Put Hans on. Hans, listen to me. That shithead doesn't know what kind of scum you are, but I do.
But then you'll give us what we want and save your friend's life. You're not part of this equation. It's time to realize that.
Saying this, Hans takes out his gun, points it at Ellis, smiling. Ellis smiles too.
What am I, a method actor? Hans, babe, put the gun away. This is radio, not television.
That asshole's not my friend. I barely knowed him. I hate his fucking guts. Ellis, for Christ's sake, tell him what you don't mean shit to me.
John, how can you say that after all these years? John? John? Well, I tried.
Hans nods understandingly. He takes the radio, presses the talk button, and in one frighteningly smooth motion brings the Walther up to Ellis's forehead and pulls the trigger.
Hear that? Talk to me. Where are my detonators? Where are they? Or shall I shoot another one? Sooner or later, I might get someone you actually do care about.
Go fuck yourself.
He disconnects. Pal fends off Robinson, who wants the radio.
God damn it, didn't you hear him? He practically pulled the goddamn trigger himself. He gave that man to them.
Christ, can't you read between the lines? He did everything he could to save him. If he gave himself up, they'd both be dead.
Maybe. And maybe they'd at least be talking to us. Now tell your partner to stay out of it, or so help me. If he lives through this, I'll put him behind bars myself.
He's alone, tired, hunted, and hasn't seen diddly squat from us, and you think he gives a flying fuck about what you're gonna do to him? Robinson, wake up and smell the shit you're shoveling!
Anytime you want to go home, Sergeant, consider yourself dismissed.
No, sir, you couldn't drag me away.
Attention, police. Attention, police.
This is, Powell.
This is Deputy Chief Robinson. Who is this?
This is Hans Gruber. I assume you realize the futility of direct action against me. We have no wish for further loss of life.
What do you wish for, Mr. Gruber?
I have comrades in arms around the world who are languishing in prison. The American State Department enjoys rattling its saber for its own ends. Now it can rattle it for me. The following people are to be released from their captors. In Northern Ireland, the 7 members of the new Provo Front. In Canada, the 5 imprisoned leaders of Liberté du Québec. In Sri Lanka, the 9 members of the Asian Dawn Movement. I read about them in Time magazine. When these revolutionary brothers and sisters are free, the hostages in this building will be taken to the roof, and they will accompany us in helicopters to the Los Angeles International Airport, where you will be given further instructions. You have 2 hours to comply.
Are you insane? Get out there. Hello? Hello?
Do you think they'll even try to do it?
Who cares? Theo, are we on schedule?
In the vault room, Theo and Kristoff have been rewarded with another lock deactivated. The graphics on his screen flash, warning, electromagnetic seal armed.
Be of good cheer and call me when you hit the last lock. Carl, hunt the little shit down and get the detonators.
Banco is checking the explosives. Fritz is with him.
I'll check the explosives. You just get those detonators.
McClane has staked out the 32nd floor and patrols, as cops do.
Al? Al, you there?
I'm here, cowboy.
Speaking of cows, you ever hear so much bullshit in your life? 2 hours? That doesn't even make any sense.
Don't tell me, partner. I'm just a desk jockey who was on the way home when you rang.
You drove that car, I figured you for the streets.
In my youth, partner. In my youth.
On the TV, they've brought in a terrorism expert as part of the news bulletin. The hostages watch, dumbfounded.
Author of Hostage, Terrorist, Terrorist, Hostage, A Study in Duality. Dr. Hasseldorf, what can we expect in the next few hours?
Well, Gail, by the time the hostages and their captors should be entering the early stages of the Helsinki syndrome.
As in Helsinki, Sweden.
Finland. Basically, it's when the hostages and the terrorists go through a sort of psychological transference and projection of dependency, what can only be described as this sort of strange trust and bond develops. We've had situations where hostages have embraced their captors after release and in one case even corresponded with them in prison.
Meanwhile, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has landed on the scene outside.
FBI? Here?
He adjusts his clothing, fixes his tie.
You want a breath mint?
They move together towards the big, dark government car.
I'm Special Agent Johnson of the FBI. This is Agent Johnson, no relation.
Dwayne Robinson, LAPD. I'm in charge here.
Not anymore.
Inside, Hans has found the explosive and is checking the plastique, not pleased. Suddenly, he feels a barrel pressed to his head.
Lost?
A moment. The transformation in his expression and bearing are mind-boggling. Hands shaking, eyes filled with fear, he swallows, looks up at McClane, and in a perfect American accent says,
"Oh God, please! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! You're one of them, I know it!"
Whoa. Easy, man. I won't hurt you. Who are you? What are you looking for?
I'm way up to the roof. I thought I could signal for help.
Forget it. They got a guy up there. You want to stay alive? Keep moving. Hey, you hear me?
The poor, frightened civilian shows a hint of a smile.
We've got 30, maybe 35 hostages, probably on the 30th floor, 7, maybe
Thank
8.
you. We'll handle it from here. When we need to commandeer your men, we'll try and let you know.
Aren't you forgetting something?
Johnson and Johnson turn. Robinson wants Powell to shut up.
John McClane! He's the man who gave us all the information we got. He's the reason you're facing 7 terrorists instead of 12.
He's inside? Who is he?
He may be a cop.
Sorry.
We're checking on that.
One of yours?
No, sir.
He's not a terrorist and he's not a hostage. He's just not part of the equation.
That's the same goddamn thing the terrorists said.
Really? Sound like we're dealing with pros.
Back inside, McClane and Hans walk together. Hans is still a nervous wreck.
There was a party celebration. All of a sudden, they were there, shooting, threatening us.
McClane takes out his spoils of war, the Marlboros. 2 left. He sighs, takes one, offers the other one with an expression like a little boy forced to share his cookie.
Relax, man. You smoke?
Hans's eyes takes in his bare feet.
You don't work for Nakatomi, and if you're not one of them...
I'm a cop from New York.
New York?
They invited me to the Christmas party. Who knew? Better than being caught with your pants down, right? John McClane.
William Clay. Call me Bill.
McClane's eyes glance casually over to the wall with the roster of Nakatomi employees in alphabetical order. Hans doesn't notice him scouring over the C's. Campbell, Clay, W.M., Crawford, L.
Bill, you know how to use a handgun?
One weekend I went to a combat ranch. You know that game with the guns that shoot red paint? Must sound pretty silly to you.
Sounds better than nothing.
McClane takes out his Beretta, pops out the magazine, jams in a fresh one, and hands it to him.
Time for the real thing.
McClane turns to hit the elevator button, but we hear a click. He slowly turns back. Hans is, well, Hans again, from expression to posture. He holds the pistol aimed at McClane's face.
Carl, Franco, I'm on 32. Come quickly. Put down your gun and give me my detonators.
Hans. You're Hans.
Put it down now.
That was tricky. The accent. I bet you do a great Ed Sullivan. Why do you need the detonators, Hans? I already used the explosives.
I'm going to count to 3.
Yeah, like you did with Mr. Rivers.
McClane raises his machine gun, aims at Hans. Hans pulls the trigger. Click. Astonishment. Click, click, click. McClane steps in carefully and reclaims his pistol.
You think I'm a schmuck, Hans?
Hans pales as we hear the ding of the approaching elevator.
You were saying?
McClane whirls in time to see Carl, Fritz, and Franco coming out of it, firing. McClane fires one shot and takes out Fritz, and then he ducks and rolls. He fires at Franco, raking in his middle, but he can't rest. Bullets fly in from the unexpected directions. Hans is snatched up Franco's weapon. McClane is on the run. Hans looks at the glass around him and gets an idea.
The glass! Shoot the glass!
Glass flies everywhere, and McClane's foot goes right down on a jagged shard. He groans, but he keeps going until he reaches the stairwell door. He's out, gone, safe. Carl looks pissed as hell. Behind him, Hans shifts through the rubble and smiles. He's holding the bag of detonators.
Smile, Carl. We're back in business.
Hans and Carl return to the hostage floor and toss the bag of detonators to Yuli, who grins and leaves. Holly has watched all of this, but Jenny's eyes follow Carl, who doesn't share the mood of the others.
That one looked pissed, Mrs. Gennaro.
God, John's still alive.
Back in the vault room, Theo and Kristoff get the message, electromagnetic seal engaged, cannot be disarmed at this location, terminate sequence, yes, no. Merri enters Dick's trailer, grinning ear to ear. Thornburg looks up from his Danish, a cute little chin napkin protecting his shirt collar.
You got something?
Yes, McClane's name, badge number, police record, vital statistics, and his family's address right here in LA.
Wincing in pain, McClane has made his way to a bathroom and washes his foot in the sink basin.
Roy, you still with us?
Yeah, but all things being equal, I'd rather be in Philadelphia. By the way, chalk up 2 more terrorists.
Hans and Theo lean over a monitor in the vault room, watching a city truck pull onto the scene.
That's the FBI, ordering them to cut the building's power. They're as regular as clockwork. Or a time lock. The circuits that cannot be cut are cut automatically in response to a terrorist incident. You ask for miracles, Theo. I give you the FBI.
When you're hot, you're hot.
The Johnsons and Robertsons and Powell are by a manhole with a city engineer.
We're spliced in down the line. Do it now.
The engineer throws giant levers, sparks sizzle in the manhole, and one by one, all light on the floors of the Nakatomi building go out.
Pal, what's going on?
Ask the FBI. They've got the terrorist playbook and they're running it step by step.
Hans and Theo are celebrating until they notice that hum of a portable generator. The lights are off, but the computer screen stays on.
It didn't go.
They're on the building circuit. It's too local.
Encourage them to be bolder.
The only thing left for them is the city grid. You're not do it.
All the floors go back on, one by one.
Shit! Go wider. I can't go wider here. I'd have to call downtown, have them take down one of the city grids. You're talking 10 square blocks.
Are you crazy? It's Christmas Eve. Thousands of people. The mayor will scream bloody murder.
We must shut down the building. Go wider.
I need authorization.
Authorization? How about the United States fucking government? Lose the grid or lose your job.
Central, this is Walt, out at Nakatomi. I want you to shut down 212. No shit, it's my ass. Just shut it down, now.
Lights on all the floors of the building go out again. With a dramatic clink, the vault doors open. The FBI guys look at the building, then at the LAPD guys.
That should shake them up. With all the power shut down, those bastards are probably scared shitless.
Powell looks up the dark structure lit only by emergency lighting.
What do we do now? Arrest them for not paying their electric bill?
We let them sweat a while. Then, when they're expecting helicopters, we give them helicopters. Right up the ass. This is Johnson. No, the other one. I want that air support ready to lift off in 5 minutes. Damn right, fully armed. We're on our way. Attention in the building.
Hans talks while Theo and Kristoff tackle loading the racks and racks of bonds into black cases.
This is Hans.
This is Agent Johnson of the FBI. The State Department has arranged for the release of your comrades. The helicopters you requested are on the way.
I hear you, FBI. We'll be ready. When they touch down and we blow the roof, they'll spend a month sifting through the bodies and rubble. By the time they figure out what went wrong, we'll be earning 20% like nice, greedy capitalists.
By the time he figures out what hit him, he'll be in a body bag.
Powell, listen.
Powell moves off to be alone. McClane tries walking on his foot. He winces in pain, clearly at the end of his resources.
I'm here, John.
Look, I'm getting a bad feeling up here. I'd like you to do something for me. Look up my wife. Don't ask how, you'll know by then. And tell her I've been a jerk. When things panned out for her, I should have been behind her all the way. We had something great going till I screwed it up. She was the best thing that ever happened to a bum like me. She heard me say I love you 1,000 times, but she never got to hear this. Honey, I'm sorry. Get all that?
I got it. But you can tell her yourself. Just watch your ass and you'll make it.
I hope so, but that's up to the guy upstairs. Upstairs? Hans, you bastard, what were you doing?
Roy?
Stand by, pal, I gotta check something out.
He limps hurriedly out of the room, retracing his steps on the mechanical floor, mentally replaying his meeting with Hans.
He was here. He was...
He looks up. Explosives are everywhere.
Oh my God. Pal, listen to me. You're being double-crossed. The whole roof of the building is...
Suddenly, a gun barrel is pressed against his head. He stiffens. Carl takes the radio and smiles while he smashes the transmitter
Roy,
underfoot.
Hello? Double-crossed?
We're both professionals, but this is personal. You are done.
Wham! McClane drives his elbow into Carl's face. Carl's weapon clatters on the floor. McClane follows his first blow with another. Carl recovers and with a spinning karate kick slams McClane back. Eddie turns from a window by the hostages, where we can see the helicopters that Hans requested in the distance.
They're coming.
Hans nods, delighted, then notices Holly, glued to the TV, which shows Thornburg at Holly's house. Lucy, in her PJs, is front and center of the interview.
Brave policeman, and your mom has shown just as much courage. But is there something you would like to say to them if they're watching?
Come home.
Holly struggles to stay composed. She can't. She slowly turns her head, looks at Hans. He looks at the picture of the children on her desk, and then looks at her.
Mrs. McClane! How nice to make your acquaintance.
He raises his weapon, but he only shoots into the ceiling, making everyone jump.
On your feet, everyone! Upstairs now!
McClane and Carl, still at it, move towards each other, seizing each other up.
Better this way, isn't it? I mean, anyone can shoot a gun.
The two men fight brutally. Carl bringing years of martial training into the moment. McClane bringing nothing but the
Should have heard your brother scream when I broke his fucking neck.
Carl steps in quickly with a deadly move. McClane twists free, slams an elbow into Carl's kidney. Carl backs off. He circles McClane with new respect. Johnson & Johnson approach in an armed FBI chopper.
Stay low. They're expecting transports, not gunships. I figure we take out all the terrorists and lose 20% of the hostages. 25, tops. I can live with those numbers.
Theo and Christoph are finishing loading the bonds up from the vault. As Hans comes in, they look curiously at Holly.
A little bonus for us. I thought a policeman's wife might come in handy. McClane! McClane! I have some news for you. McClane?
McClane doesn't hear this. The only radio nearby is the one Carl smashed, and they're still going toe-to-toe. Holly's eyes follow Theo packing up the bonds.
After all your posturing, all your speeches, you're nothing but a common thief.
I'm an exceptional thief, Mrs. McClane. And now that I'm moving up to kidnapping, you should be more polite.
He slaps her. On the machine floor, Carl drives McClane back into the sweeping head kick. McClane is staggering. He falls backwards, drives his leg upwards, propelling Carl into the air. Carl goes into a loop of chain hanging over the turbine and becomes entangled. McClane jumps to his feet, yanks the other end of the chain. Carl is jerked upwards by the neck. He twitches like a captured fish. And it's lights out for Carl. McClane snatches up his Beretta from the floor and runs out onto the roof where Uli has rounded up all the hostages. He shoots Uli and charges through the crowd.
Where's Holly?
They took her after they saw the kids on the television.
What? God.
He looks off to the choppers. Closer yet, he turns, shouts.
Listen to me. All of you, get down to the lower floors. You're all in danger.
What, are you crazy? We're being rescued. Those helicopters.
Be shit for those helicopters to land on because the whole top of this building is wired with explosives. Now get below.
But we're safe up here.
Safe my ass. This ain't a helipad. It's a launching
And he
pad.
fires over their heads. They scream and head to the door as he hoped. He fires again. They really haul ass.
Get below now!
In the chopper, midair, Big Johnson eyes McClane firing and shouts at the pilot.
Swing around. Give me a clear shot.
Hans is supervising the last of the work. Something catches his eye on the monitor. He sees the hostages coming back down the roof. With a roar and a clatter of rotors, the lead chopper zooms overhead. McClane throws himself down on the ground, looks as the chopper opens fire. Shocked, McClane dives out of the way. Hans whirls towards Kristoff.
Blow the roof, now!
Carl and Uli are up there.
Hans goes and does it himself.
You assholes, I'm on your side!
Desperate, he looks around, he sees a fire hose and he makes up his mind. He turns on the fire hose, unreels 3 yards, loops it around his back and under his legs, and looks over the edge, hesitates.
Fuck this.
He jumps right as Hans hits the detonator button. The helipad explodes. A fireball rolls into the sky, but the building remains standing. Nakatomi sure can take some explosions. McClane is dangling as flaming debris soar past him. He kicks off the building, swings back 10 feet, fires the gun to shatter the window, and sails back in. He checks the weapon he took from Uli. 1 bullet. He checks his Beretta. Also, 1 bullet.
Shit.
Mind racing, he looks around the room. His eyes fall on a tape dispenser. Argyle is still in the limo, huddled down with a stuffed animal held over his head. He sneaks a peek out from under the fur and sees Theo carrying the bonds to the delivery truck. Argyle vaults into the front seat. Flooring the limo, Argyle crashes into the truck, which careens into the wall.
Where's the camera crew when you need them?
The last of the money is piled on.
Let's move.
Kristoff goes to the door to scope their exit, but he is cold-cocked with a rifle butt, and McClane steps into view in the doorway.
Hans!
Hans turns, not surprised. Grinning, he yanks Holly into view. No words need be said.
John! Ollie, we gotta stop meeting like this. This is what it was? A fucking robbery? So why nuke the building, Hans?
When you steal $600, you can disappear. But when you steal 600 million, they will find you. As you play dead. Which happens to be your next role. Drop your gun, please.
McClane hesitates. Hans pushes the gun against Holly again, really hurting her. Eddie quickly raises his weapon.
Nein, this ein ist mine. This time John Wayne does not walk off into the sunset with Grace Kelly.
That was Gary Cooper, shithead.
Or jokes. Drop it or she gets it between the eyes.
Oh, Hans, now you're the cowboy.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Now you are fucked.
Holly, now!
Instantly, Holly sidesteps, jabs her elbow into Hans's face. At the same moment Holly moves, McClane grabs his Beretta from his hiding place, taped to the back of his neck, and he shoots Han high in the chest. The bullet passes right through Hans, and the window behind him splatters with blood and shatters. Even while this is happening, McClane spins. Eddie takes a shot and drops. Hans drops his weapon, staggers, looks down at his own blood in shock.
You were right about us Americans. We aren't cowboys.
Hans starts to topple, locking eyes with McClane for one last time, and then he is out the window. We listen to his scream all the way down, while McClane holds Holly.
It's okay, babe. It's okay.
The morning dawns as they make their way down onto the street. There are SWAT teams and reporters everywhere. McClane and Holly push into the crowd.
Al? Al, you here?
Suddenly, Powell is there, and McClane knows it's him. They stare at each other, 10 feet apart, and then they're grinning, extending their hands, but somehow a shake isn't enough, and they're embracing each other like men who've lived through combat together, which, in fact, is the truth.
Al. Man, you were my rock. I couldn't have made it without you.
Bullshit.
I'm serious. Hey, this is my wife, Holly Gennaro.
Holly McClane.
Pleasure. I guess John doesn't need me to give you that message anymore.
Message?
You know, about him being such a jerk and how he's really sorry. I'm sure he'll fill you in.
Suddenly, McClane and Holly squint as lights pan onto them. Thornburg pushes his way forward, mic extended like a weapon.
Mr. McClane, Mrs. McClane, any comment on your incredible ordeal? What are you feeling now that it's all over?
Without a beat, Holly punches him in the chops. He falls, dropping the mic with an electronic squeal. Thornburg nurses his lip, turns to his cameraman from the ground.
Did you get that?
Perfectly timed, Argyle's limo pulls up. It's a little smashed up, but still running.
If this is their idea of Christmas, I gotta be there for New Year's.
McClane and Holly kiss as Argyle drives them off. The end. There you have it. Die hard. Live hard. Go home. The end.